In today's video, we'll be going over the new PlayStation 4 game releases of the week, and unlike recent weeks, this is a somewhat lighter week. We've only got 5 PS4 games to go over. However, there are some major titles being released. One game in particular has a lot of gamers excited, so we'll still be taking a look at the new game releases of the week. On top of that, we've got some details about Red Dead Redemption 2, and we are inching closer and closer to that game, probably the biggest game release of the year. We've also got an update on Final Fantasy 15 sales numbers and how it's doing comparatively speaking to the rest of the series, and it is doing rather well. And we've got an update on whether or not there will be a new Assassin's Creed game in 2019, so we'll hit that at the end of this video. First, let's take a look at all of the new PlayStation 4 game releases of the week. I'll start off with the biggest title of this week, and that is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider is back once again with the third entry in its franchise. We've been talking quite a bit about Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and compared to a lot of the other major game releases of this year, I feel like Shadow of the Tomb Raider's hype and anticipation isn't there compared to some of the other big game releases of the year, say a Spider-Man or a God of War, but I do feel like SOTR is absolutely gonna deliver with quality. The first Tomb Raider game did, and Rise of the Tomb Raider did as well, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider is building upon the success of Rise of the Tomb Raider. We're getting a bigger game, more content, more gameplay options, and it's shaping up to be a really good game. I don't know how it's gonna do commercially because it is just coming a week after Spider-Man, and it seems like everybody with a PS4 is busy with that game. However, there is definitely an ardent fan base for Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider should be a successful title. And speaking from a quality standpoint, which is what we really care about, and as far as from a quality standpoint goes, I'm sure Eidos Montreal is going to deliver with the game. Shadow of the Tomb Raider drops on September 14th. Next up, we also have Black Clover Quartet Night. Black Clover is the latest anime to make the transition into the video game realm. However, Black Clover isn't really the most well-known anime, and it's kind of surprising that Black Clover is making the video game transition quicker than My Hero Academia. That's getting its video game late next month, actually on the same day as Red Dead Redemption 2. But that's next month. This week, we've got Black Clover Quartet Night, and it's actually a 4v4 multiplayer game. So yeah, Black Clover is making the transition to the video game realm. It's not getting your typical fighting game or Dynasty Warriors style game. Rather, it's getting a 4v4 multiplayer game where you have to actually assemble a balanced team, choosing from different characters featuring various melee, ranged, barrier, or healing specializations. Even though I'm not a fan of Black Clover, I can definitely get behind them trying something unique with an anime game. However, this does kind of give me resemblances of Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Striker, but hopefully Black Clover Quartet Night is its own unique experience. It drops on September 14th. Next up, we also have V-Rally 4. V-Rally 4 is the return of a legendary off-road racing game. You enjoy an extreme experience while becoming an expert in a demanding simulation. Take on the challenges of rallies, rallycross, drifts, buggies, and hill climbs, and you'll set off a spectacular journey across every continent. V-Rally 4 drops on the PS4 on September 11th. Next up, we have Nefarious. Nefarious is a quirky little game. Unlike every other game that has you play as the hero of the story, Nefarious is a 2D action platform where you get to be the villain. You step into the wily shoes of Crow, an evil genius on an epic quest to steal princesses for his royalty-powered, world-conquering death ray. No, this isn't the most serious game, but I can always go for a more quirky adventure like this. Nefarious hits the PS4 on September 11th. And the final game release we're going to go over is Boundless. Boundless is a PlayStation 4 and PC cross-platform game in which everyone plays together in a single online universe. It's a big open-ended game, a physical sandbox through which you can grapple up to inaccessible mountain ledges and slide down ice paths into the deepest caves. Boundless is said to be a universe that is built by its players. It drops on the PS4 on September 11th.
Explore. Discover new worlds, new wonders. Find a place to settle. Build. Establish homes. Communities.
Not a ton of major titles, however, we do have Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is a game a lot of gamers are looking forward to. I could foresee Boundless having some potential in gaining some popularity, however, considering No Man's Sky does have that persistent online universe thing going for it right now, let's see how Boundless will compare. And Black Clover Quartet Night, that's a game I think could end up surprising some people, and if you're a fan of Black Clover, might be a game worth checking out. But compared to the last few weeks, this is definitely a lighter week in terms of game releases, but that's alright. Let's take a breather for a little bit. And we still have Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and so many of us are gonna check that out. So moving on from the new game releases, I also gotta talk about a couple of other things. We've got some details on Red Dead Redemption 2, and art director of the game, Josh Bass, recently talked to Hollywood Reporter and talked about the game's playable character. Here's what he said, quote, "Sticking with a single character felt more appropriate for the structure and narrative of a Western. Arthur lives and fights alongside the other members of Vanderlyn Gang, and there are a group of fully realized characters with relationships to each other and to Arthur. But this is Arthur's story, and we are placing players firmly in Arthur's boots as he and the gang deal with a rapidly changing world. We think people will really love the feeling of being in the gang. It isn't like anything we've done before." So he does say that there will be a single character that's different to Grand Theft Auto 5, and that's even different to the first Red Dead Redemption. If you remember, spoiler alert, when you get to the game after John Marston dies, you do play as his son, but his son doesn't have a gigantic story impact. There is a little bit of a secret at the end, and that does tie up the story, but for the most part, you are playing as John Marston. But at the end of the game, you do take control of his son, but it looks like with Red Dead Redemption 2, you are going to be playing as Arthur for the entirety of the game. And I can definitely get behind that. I want to feel attached to Arthur in a game like this. This isn't a game like Grand Theft Auto 5 where I think the characters are more charming and I don't really relate to them. With Arthur, I do want him to be a relatable character, an endearing character, and I want to know why he makes certain choices. And if there were multiple playable characters, I think that would dilute that a little bit. So I am all for Arthur Morgan being the only playable character in Red Dead Redemption 2. Moving on from that, we've got some sales updates on Final Fantasy 15 and how it compares to the rest of the series. Well, Gear Nuke had previously reported that Final Fantasy 15 had crossed 8.1 million units sold, and that puts it at number 6 all-time of the mainline Final Fantasy games. That is topped by Final Fantasy 7, followed up by Final Fantasy 14, then Final Fantasy 10, then Final Fantasy 6, then Final Fantasy 8, and then you have Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy 13 is at number 7, FF12 is at number 8, FF10-2 is at number 9, and FF9 is at number 10. I would say that's a very good number for Final Fantasy 15, and I do foresee the sales numbers for this game continue to grow because we do know that Season Pass content for this game is still to be released. Well, it's going to be another Season Pass. It's not the current Season Pass that you have bought, and I am sure that after all of the content is released, that Square Enix is going to release that super duper definitive edition of Final Fantasy 15, and that's really the complete edition of the game, and that's when a lot of other gamers will pick up FF15, and that should jolt up its sales numbers quite a bit as well. But right now, sitting at 8.1 million, that's quite a hefty number, and I think Square Enix should be happy with that. However, even with 8.1 million copies sold, Final Fantasy 15 was a game that was a gigantic financial burden on Square Enix, so to recoup the cost, that's why they're doing all of this Season Pass content. That's why they're keeping this game alive, because they put so much into that game, they have to get something out of it. But right now, sitting at 8.1 million units sold, that's definitely nothing to scoff at. Lastly, I do want to mention that Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot has reiterated that there will be no new Assassin's Creed game in 2019. I'd originally thought that there would be no new Assassin's Creed game in 2018, but lo and behold, we do have Assassin's Creed Odyssey. But here's what Yves Guillemot said about AC in 2019. On Assassins, we had a game in 2017 and we have one this year, but we are not going to have a full-fledged Assassins next year. It's just because the team were working separately, so we have 2 games now, 1 year after the other, but next year you're not going to have a fully fledged one. What you'll have is lots of content coming on Assassin's Creed Odyssey. The team really want to give on a regular basis some new possibilities for play, so when you get Odyssey this year, you're going to get in for a couple of years, actually. That's interesting because he does mention that we're not going to have a full-fledged Assassins next year. I could see a very big expansion pack come to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, an expansion that's $20 or $30 and maybe adds 10 to 12 hours of gameplay. I don't think that's completely out of the question. I am completely for that, opposed to a brand new game. If they want to keep Assassins around every year, instead of releasing a brand new $60 entry every year, for the people that want to stick into the experience, they want more Assassin's Creed, give them more content to buy. Of course, there will be a season pass and you could do that content, and then you could even do a bigger expansion that is, again, 10 to 15 hours or whatever, and then wait for the next game to come out in 2 years. Give them that option as well. I think that's how you do Assassin's Creed justice. Instead of just cycling out new game releases every year, I think that's going to get the franchise very stale again, and that was the issue after the release of Assassin's Creed Unity, and that's why they had to take 2016 off. So I'm definitely for this pattern of release opposed to new games every year. So that's going to conclude this video. Again, we've got 5 new PlayStation 4 game releases this week, all topped off by Shadow of the Tomb Raider. That looks like a great game. Red Dead Redemption 2 will feature just 1 playable character. Final Fantasy 15 sales numbers has it at number 6 all time in the series. days. That's a very respectable number. I do foresee that the sales numbers continue to grow as we see more content being released for the game. And once again, we mentioned this before, but it's being reiterated that there will be no Assassin's Creed title in 2019. However, if you do want your Assassin's experience, it looks like Assassin's Creed Odyssey will be updated for quite a while, and you'll have new content to engage in all the time. That's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. This video is sponsored by the fine folk over at SCD Keys. On this channel, we're always talking about saving money and getting great deals, and that's what you can do by picking up a $50 PlayStation Store card from SCD Keys. If you head over to their website, link is down below, and search for a $50 PlayStation Store card, you'll find it. Go ahead and add it to your card, and use our specialized promo code GC3 to save 3% on your order. That'll bring the cost of the card down to $46.64. You can check out and choose your method of payment. Your key will show up on your account, and boom, just like that, you got a $50 PSN card a little bit cheaper. Not only do they have great deals on PlayStation Store credit, they also have Windows 10 and other software heavily discounted, and you can get great deals on those as well. Again, check out the link to SCD Keys in the description box below.